Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jyamudiyayat. Nasvesya Bhadrasya Nityam Bharata Sevya Bhagavatu Tamasuki Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 15, the Pandavas retire timely, text 49. So we will hear now about the disappearance of Vidura. Viduropi parichaya prabhase deyam atmanaha Krishna vishena tashita pitribhisvaksayam chaya. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. But the word for word translation. Vidura, the uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthir, Api also, Parijaya, after quitting the body, Prabhasi, in the place of pilgrimage at Prabhas, Deyam Atmanaha, his body, Krishna, the personality of Godhead, Aveshena, being absorbed in that thought, that his chitta, thoughts and action, Pitribihi, along with the residents of Pitriloka, Svaksayam, his own abode, Chaya, departed. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhas because he was absorbed in thought of Lord Krishna. He was received by the denizens of the Pitriloka planet, where he returned to his original post. Purport. The difference between the Pandavas and Vidura is that the Pandavas are eternal associates of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas Vidura is one of the administrative demigods in charge of the Pitriloka planet and is known as Yamaraj. Men are afraid of Yamaraj because it is he only who awards punishment to the miscreants of the material world. But those who are devotees of the Lord have nothing to fear from him. To the devotees he is a cordial friend, but to the non-devotees he is fear personified. As we have already discussed, it is understood that Yamaraj was cursed by Manduka Muni to be degraded as a Sudra, and therefore Vidura was an incarnation of Yamaraj. As an eternal servitor of the Lord, he displayed his devotional activities very ardently and lived a life of a pious man, so much that a materialistic man like Dhritarashtra also got salvation by his instruction. So by his pious activities in the devotional service of the Lord, he was able to always remember the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus he became washed off all contamination of a Sudra-born life. At the end, he was again received by the denizens of Pitriloka and posted in his original position. The demigods are also associates of the Lord without personal touch, whereas the direct associates of the Lord are in constant personal touch with him. The Lord and his personal associates incarnate in many universes without cessation. The Lord remembers all these appearances, whereas the associates forget due to their being very minor parts and parcels of the Lord. They are apt to forget such incidents due to being infinitesimal. This is corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita 4:5. Read the verse again. Vidurupi parichaya prabhasidhyam atmanaha Krishna vishene tashita pitripi svaksayam chaya. Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhas. Because he was absorbed in thought of Lord Krishna, he was received by the denizens of the Pitri Loka planet, where he returned to his original post. Shitchetayamanopistam stapitam yena bhutale svam rupakadamayam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham shiro shiyuda padakamanam shirom vaishnavam sha. Shirupam jagajatam saganaraganatam vitam tam sajivam. Sadvaitam savdutam parjana saitam si Krishna chaitanya devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sinudina Bandha Jyatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sujadevi Panamama Haripriya Pancha Kalpta Visha Kripasan Vaivsha Patna Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namo. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Dasatani. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So we have heard about the disappearance of the Pandavas, and now Vidura is leaving and is going back to Pitriloka. During his absence, Aryama took over his service. His service is because Vidura was before Yamaraj. Yamaraj is judging all the conditioned souls and gives them punishments according to their sinful acts. That Yamaraj is also one of the Mahajans. That's mentioned in the Bhagavatam in the 6th canto. The Mahajans, they know the absolute truth. That yes, Vidura in his previously was Yamaraj, but one day he judged Manduka Muni. Manduka Muni was to be punished but his subtle body would be it would die by lance. That his body would be pierced by a lance. And Manduka Muni said to Yamaraj, in my life I did not do any sinful activities. How do I deserve this? And Manduka Muni was a tapasvi, an austere sage. And Yamaraj said, oh, in your childhood, you have pierced an ant with a straw, and therefore now as reaction you have to be pierced by a lance. And Manduka Muni said, I was just a child. I didn't know. Normally a child does not make karma. That I think this is a very heavy punishment for a very small thing. It's outrageous. So I will curse you that you become a Sudra in your next life. And then he became a Sudra. he took birth as Vidura. Of course, that has a history in the Mahabharata, because we know that that King Santanu, he had two wives. That he first married Ganga, and he had one child from Ganga, Bhishmadev. And then, by the mercy of Bhishmadev, King Santanu could, that's the whole story, could marry with Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman. It's a whole story, but Bhishma, the condition was from Satyavati's father that you can marry my daughter, he said to King Santanu, if their children will become the next king. That but the father of Satyavati said, but it's impossible because you have already a son, and naturally the children of your son will be the king. So Santanu gave it up, but Bhishmadev knew Santanu wanted to marry Satyavati. So he went to the father of Satyavati and said, I promise you, I will remain celibate. I will not marry. That, and then he agreed to that. So Bhishma made his vow to remain celibate for his entire life, to allow King Santanu, his father, to marry Satyavati. And that Satyavati had, with King Santanu, had 3 children. Well, had Shitra, 2 children, Shitra Gada and Vichintra Virya, 2 sons. But both sons, they died early, prematurely. And so there was, by that time, there was no child to become the next king. That so that Satyavati, she told Vyas, you should go and impregnate the wives of Vichintra Virya. So he did. And first he had union with Ambika, but during the union, Ambika would close her eyes. She didn't want to see Vyasadeva. And by that Dhritarashtra was born blind. And the other queen of Vichitravicha's, the second of Vichitravicha's widow was Ambalika. And when she was impregnated by Vyas, she became very pale, and then Pandu took birth, who was completely white, practically pale. So Satyavati was not really satisfied. She said, one is blind, the other is pale. Can't we have a normal child? And you try again. But then the queens, the widows of Vichitra Virya were thinking, oh, we don't want to go that again, through that again. And they sent a maidservant, that a maid of Ambika. And she had union with Vyas, and she gave birth to Vidura. But she was a Sudra, therefore Vidura was not, although he was in the royal family, he didn't get he didn't get a royal, he was not considered a Kshatriya, that being from, or because he did not have royal blood that so it was considered of a lower birth, but still that because Vidura was very pious and followed all religious principles and truthful, so he became the advisor of Dhritarashtra, and he gave always good advice, and Dhritarashtra used to follow it, and but only because of affection for its sons, Dhritarashtra did not follow his advice to get rid of his son Duryodhana. One day, Vidura said to Dhritarashtra, you should get rid of your evil son Duryodhana. He's Kali personified, and it was indeed a representation of Kali, causing quarrel. That and he said you should get rid of it to save your dynasty, otherwise it will be the cause of the destruction of your dynasty. And Duryodhana heard this, and immediately came before Vidura and said, he became very angry, you son of a kept mistress, that we toss you out of the palace and leave you only with your breath. So then he was thrown out of the palace. And Vidura saw this in two ways. That he saw, at one side, Vidura saw Krishna's illusory energy bewildering Duryodhana. That on the other side, because he could see Krishna's hand. That because he was in this palace with all this politics, but he had a desire to associate with saintly person and go on pilgrimage. And this was his chance. So he left his bow at the palace and just left on pilgrimage. And he went on pilgrimage for 30 years. And in these 30 years, the whole battle of Kurukshetras took place. That and then many years later, about 30 years later, and that then Vidura went on pilgrimage, and he met Uddhav, who had just been instructed by Krishna, and Krishna had already left the planet. That so he met Uddhav, and he saw that Uddhav was such an ecstatic devotee. He was always in ecstasy, speaking about Krishna's pastimes. And I think they were meeting near to the Yamuna, and Vidura wanted to take initiation of Uddhav. Uddhav was a good friend of Krishna, that disciple of Brihaspati, and he looked more or less like Krishna. That and Krishna used him as messenger, he accepted counsel from Uddhav. But then he wanted to take initiation from Uddhav, but Uddhav said no. you should go to Maitreya Muni, because Maitreya Muni is senior to me. And he has also been instructed by Krishna. Okay, he went to Maitreya Muni and heard, and that we can, that's the whole third, fourth, fifth canto of the Bhagavatam. These conversations between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. After that, because Vidura went to Hastinapur. This is 30 years after the Battle of Kurukshetra. And he was received by Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas. Vidura knew that Krishna had left the planet, but he did not disclose it. To Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas. From that we can learn we don't have to be the bearer of bad news, that the others will come to know through other channels, no problem. But then, what was the purpose of Vidura visiting again the Pandavas? Because Vidura, before, when the Pandavas were young, he always tried to protect the Pandavas. And when they were sent to a house of shellac, very inflammable materials, he sent a messenger and sent a messaging code to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Yudhishthira Maharaj understood this house is made of inflammable materials. And they built a tunnel and so on. He always tried to protect the Pandavas. So therefore the Pandavas were very affectionate. Vidura was their well-wisher. And that is a characteristic of a saintly person. A saintly person is a well-wisher of others always. That by giving them spiritual instructions for their future welfare, and especially Vidura came for Dhritarashtra, his materialistic brother. Because this is after the Battle of Kurukshetra. All the sons of Dhritarashtra and all the Kurus died. It was over, the battle. They all died. And still, Dhritarashtra was thinking himself the king. Oh, how powerful is his false ego. Because the Pandavas respected him very, very much as an elder. Even he tried to then destroy them in so many ways. But Vidura came to wake up Dhritarashtra. He said, you are living at the cost of those who have murdered all your sons, Bhima and so on. That your liver is at this end. You are not. Your liver is at this end. You are not digesting anymore. You have problems with your heart, with your hearing. Your senses are going backwards. So be firm, be a dhira, and get out of this situation of dependence on those who have killed your sons. And the Vidura instructed Dhritarashtra privately, and then the day after, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari left to the Himalayas to prepare for death. And he came to the position of a dhira. Dhira means one who tolerates everything. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matras pastkantiasitis sukadukada kamapri nityas tamstikshas fabarta. Rajun, you should tolerate heat in the summer, cold in the winter. In the same way, you should tolerate happiness and distress, because yamina vyatatantyete purusham purushakshaba sama dukasram diram shomi tatvya kalpate. If you can tolerate, Arjun, this happiness and distress, good and bad, you are ready for liberation. Liberation is a stage in the process of devotional service. It's not the ultimate goal, but it's the first step, a better step for his next life. He became to the position of a Dhira, and then a few weeks later he left his body in the Himalayas, and Gandhari followed him in the funeral pyre. So this is Dhira. That was the life of Vidura. But Vidura now he left his body thinking of Krishna. The question, one may raise the question, why didn't he go back to the spiritual world? Because he had his service in Pitri-loka. He's one of the Mahajans, an important servant of Krishna, who gives punishments to all those who are of all those that who have led sinful lives. That is most of the people. That everyone goes to Yamaraj. Only the devotees are different. That so I remember someone asked Guru Maharaj, what if we go to Yamaraj? That and Bhakti Maharaj said, don't be afraid to go to Yamaraj. If you come to Yamaraj, what will you see? You will see he's wearing tilak. What will you say? Hare Krishna. So Yamaraj will, in his record, immediately see that you are trying to become a good devotee. And he will invite you to his house and read a Bhagavatam for you. He's a Mahajan, it's good association. So we don't care. That's good to go to Yamaraj, it's good association. But those who are sinful, Yamaraj is not so soft. And everyone gets a very honest judgment. And that Yamaraj sends them to hellish planets to prepare their subtle body for their next birth. And by that, mostly they forget previous birth because of the traumas they go through. That because one is still in the subtle body, and then the super soul will bring the subtle body to the next destination to take birth again. So Pitri-loka is also, it's called the planet of the forefathers. Much more to say about this planet. But what can we learn from Vidura? That Vidura, he accepted the curse of Manduka Muni. He had no choice. But it was also Krishna's arrangement so that he can take part of his pastime, so that he had a break from his service, and so that he could associate with Krishna personally. And because when Krishna instructed Uddhav told him that, please go to Vidura and share this knowledge with Vidura. So when Uddhav met Vidura, he told him that Krishna instructed me to come to you and to give you this knowledge. So he was very pleased that Krishna remembered him just before he left this world. And that's a fact. In Sri Upanishad, In the last verse, a spiritual seeker is praying to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. Please remember all the good things I've done in my life. That please be merciful. That may not be a prayer of pure devotion, but if we are not on that platform, this is a good prayer to get the mercy of Krishna. This desire to get the mercy. So this is Vidura. Vidura, we learn in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam that Vidura is Yamaraj, and Yamaraj has many messengers, Yamadutas, who recuperate the souls who have been sinful and bring them first to Yamaloka or Pitriloka, where they are judged. So that is, but a devotee, in Yamaraj told Yamadutas, don't bring me those souls who chant the holy name of Krishna. Don't bring me those who are wearing tulsi beads, tulsi neck beads. Therefore we wear always tulsi neck beads. That's important. That because Yamaraj told them, you stay far, far away from them. So that is, more details about how it's going at Yamaloka in different scriptures. That especially this knowledge is found at the end of the 5th canto. These hellish planets are described and what's happening there, and it's great suffering. It's great suffering. But devotees have nothing to do with it. They are freed from that suffering. But all the people, most people in this world, Yamaraj prepares them for animal life. And that is not a nice future. But as devotees, like Vidura wanted to save Dhritarashtra, as devotees, it is our duty to spread this knowledge and trying to save them from this, from becoming animals, from becoming degraded. So that's the compassion of a pure devotee. Because all of us were probably not going in the right direction, but by meeting Prabhupada's books, we changed direction. And that's the mercy of Prabhupada and his pure devotees. And Yamaraj is one of these Mahajans. There are 12 Mahajans, but our Mahajans is Prabhupada. Because it's very difficult to know the real religious principles. What are these religious principles? Yamaraj said they are the laws of God. And it's difficult to really understand these religious principles, but they are explained in the Bhagavatam, and we follow these religious principles on our path of devotional service. We have heard Bhishmadev saying in the previous chapter that when he was lying on the bed of arrows, chapter 9, that he said to Yudhishthira Maharaj, as long as you follow the regulative principles, or the principles of religion, he said, and you follow the Brahmins, then you will always be protected by these religious principles and the Brahmins. And so that is also for us. As long as we are following Prabhupada's instructions, we are protected by Krishna. Just even trying to follow him, Krishna will protect us. And that is the great mercy. That is our hope, that just trying to follow them, we are protected. We are first protected against the greatest danger, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, which is going to animal life or lower. That's a great danger. A devotee, even the most neophyte devotee, is saved from that. You get at least the human form of life again. And once you take up Krishna consciousness, it may take a few lifetimes, but you are sure to go back to God. The process, because life after life, whatever you have realized in Krishna consciousness remains. It never diminishes. You can only go up in Krishna consciousness. So by that, we are protected in so many ways. We just have to stay alive as devotees. Like Sharma said, you have to stay on the boat, that ISKCON boat. Don't jump from it. Just stay on the boat. Means just staying alive in Krishna consciousness. Follow our sadhana every day. Just stay alive. Then he said it's like a son of a rich man. A son of a rich man. What does he need to do to get inheritance from his father? Just staying alive. And that's also our duty. Just stay alive in Krishna consciousness. And everything will be very auspicious. And so we don't have to fear Yamaraj. Yamaraj is our well-wisher. He's also a devotee. And so we are happy to go to Yamaraj to have his association. That in fact, the sages of Namisaranyam, they invited Yamaraj to be in the audience. Because as long as Yamaraj would be there, nobody would die. But anyway, so this is what I could say on this verse. Any questions or comments, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for nice explanation. Couple of questions. Maharaj, did you mention that when Yamraj was not there, that somebody else was taking his responsibility, Maharaj?
Yeah, Aryama. That's
Aryama.
Yeah, that's mentioned in the scriptures somewhere, I think.
Aryama. Okay.
Aryama. Yeah. It's also a demigod.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And Maharaj, for like Krishna, when he takes incarnation or he comes personally as Krishna on that particular universe, that time the associates come with him, right? And this is related to the last, couple of sentences in the purport. Just trying to understand, then Krishna, does he take simultaneously his incarnation on multiple universes? He may be doing that, right? And at that time, the associates, like those will be different associates at different universes?
That could be, but my understanding from the scriptures is that Krishna is always busy in one universe. He stops in one universe, is 120 or 140 years, and he goes to the next. And his associates go with him. But associates, you have different kinds of associates. You have associates who come from the spiritual world to be with him. These are Nitya Siddhas, like the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis and so on. They are coming from the spiritual world. That's different. Nanda Maharaj, Yasoda. But then you have other associates who assist him in his mission on, like the Pandavas. They are eternal associates who travel with him. And that's their service, assisting Krishna in killing these demons and protecting the devotees. That and the Pandavas, they are traveling with him. That it is said in the purport, yeah, they forget their previous life. That many times, but they can also remember by Krishna's mercy. It depends. And but then there are also demigods who are taking part in the Yadu dynasty. Many were demigods, not all. There were also pure devotees. Uddhav was also in Dwarka, but he was an eternal associate. Was a pure devotee, not a demigod. That so there are different levels there. There are also that devotees who take birth in Krishna's pastime to become further purified. They are also there. So you have different cases. It's a whole gamma of a whole thing of different situations that. But yes, generally Krishna stops in one universe and it starts and appears in another. That and that continues like this. That it may appear at the same time in different universes that I don't know, but he has certainly this power to do that. But I didn't see that in the scriptures. Rather, like the sun sets, the sun rises in another universe. It takes birth in another, appears in another universe. This is, yeah. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Then we see each other next week, Tuesday.